Hello and welcome back to That's Entertainment, Gruvi's weekly show, where we catch up with all the entertainment news from last week, this week. Kicking off, the first major bit of news is censorship continues on the social media platforms. As we run into the elections, all the algorithms are now on hair triggers. So we just saw recently with Sacha Baron Cohen's tweet complaining about censorship of one of the articles that he posted. What people don't seem to realize is that these algorithms are autonomous now and they're learning. And as people continue to flag comments back and forth, the AI within these systems is picking up. And we're going to see, I think, in response to this, more unreasonable suspensions, more people in the center of these arguments being caught out by what's going on. And unfortunately, if you follow a chap called Brian Rommel, or Romele, I'm not sure how to pronounce his second name, but he's a real inspiration on Twitter. He's basically a tech guru, and recently he's been writing quite a lot of interesting pieces around the concept of breakups of major tech firms. And I do think if Trump is re-elected, that is definitely on the table. Jumping into the major news from Hollywood last week, the James Bond release No Time to Die is not going to PVOD or any kind of streaming service. As we've read through, we've seen that $30 to $50 million has been lost already on advertising the movie. This will be probably to do with all the bookings that have to be made for outdoor advertisements, all the creative that has to be set up for the release dates that are planned. It's very expensive to pull back from traditional advertising, and not so much with programmatic, as we heard from the industry, but these bookings have obviously occurred, and that's been a huge outlay of money. The streaming platforms like Netflix and Amazon have turned down the proposal for streaming the film. MGM put a price tag on at $600 million. It's rumored that the streaming platforms came in back at $300, so this was rejected. And PVOD, releasing on transactional VOD but at a premium price point, is also a complex issue for the film because the rights for the movie are actually controlled by Universal outside of the US. And if that was agreed as a strategy, then Universal will have to be compensated for their loss. Also, another thing that's going against this transactional streaming option is the fact that many of the partners in the film, companies like Rover, Omega, and Heineken, have also invested heavily in product lines that endorse the film and are going to be seeking to recoup through the system that has the biggest cachet, which is obviously theatrical releases. This isn't something that they're interested in either. Bottom line is, Barbara Broccoli has flat out rejected any kind of streaming option. And I think this is a very important signal for the market because at the end of the day, this reflects the fact that the financial considerations have been thoroughly reviewed for the film and streaming is not the right approach for this size of movie. And I think this is a good signal for the blockbuster market within Hollywood. That theatrical is still the best model for making the most out of the partnerships and the revenue possibilities for the movie. Now on to the news about the state of the cinema industry. Cinema recovery continues outside of the US and UK. Local language titles are continuing to do well across mainland Europe. China now has the biggest market of 2020 with tens of thousands of cinemas now open at 75% of the usual seating capacity. The paralysis of Hollywood is partly to blame, but the appeal of Chinese movies is also a key factor. Local blockbusters like The 800, My People, My Homeland are outperforming Hollywood film titles like Tenet and Mulan by up to 10 times. In Japan, the animation adaptation Demon Slayer grossed $44 million at the box office and is the country's biggest ever box office opening. And Demon Slayer set a new IMAX record in Japan. Records were also broken in China and Korea. CEO Rich Gelfond told Deadline, "We're going to do a lot more local language films in different territories. We're doing 1 or 2 Russian films, 1 or 2 Indian films. We just did Peninsula in Korea. We're going to lean more heavily on our international markets with local content." The continued success of IMAX is hugely encouraging from the industry because it really shows that cinema goers are still willing to pay for a premium cinema experience. And I think overall, the news is local films doing well until Hollywood picks up. This is where the majority of the fare and revenues will be generated. Now on to streaming news. Netflix is still the number 1 platform. Its current subscriber base is 195 million subscribers. but they missed their Q3 2020 growth target. They were estimating 2.5 million new users, but delivered 2.2 million. Not surprisingly, because of COVID, estimations are going to be down for Q1 and Q2 of 2021. But in the first 9 months of 2020, Netflix added 28.1 million new subscribers, and that was more than the whole of 2019 combined. Also, subscriber churn, the idea that people cancel their subscriptions, is also very impressive at less than 3%, while engagement per member household has also increased through 2020. Obviously not surprising given all the factors of lockdowns and people being stuck at home looking for something to watch. Other major news is HBO subscribers in the US are now at 38 million, exceeding their year-end target of 36 million subscribers. The streaming service HBO Max now has 8.6 million active US subscribers. What's very interesting is HBO Max will be one of the first major platforms to launch an advertising VOD offering, meaning you watch commercials as you go through watching the shows, to attract more users in its rollout in Western Europe and Latin America. AVOD is something that's been on the cards for a while. It's complicated to set up because of the different regional advertising requirements and deals that need to be negotiated. Something with the scale of HBO Max and the content programming that they have available, the power of their content, AVOD does look like a model that would work for this particular channel. And we're going to see something Hulu-esque starting to appear in Europe, where you watch the shows you want for free, but in return, you have to watch advertising. So the more things change, the more they stay the same, and eventually we'll go back to some kind of TV model that we're all familiar with. That's the show this week. If you have any interesting ideas or comments or suggestions that you'd like to share, please feel free to comment in the section below in the LinkedIn post. Have a great week. Talk to you next week. Goodbye.